MILLIONAIRE, Elon Musk revela retirada muy alta. Más, el 1% de los negros saben todo el tablado. Pero adentro del prismático Neo City, algo se emborraba más fuerte que los rumores. Arthur Wells, el juliado billonario que todos conocían, estaba a punto de revelar un secreto que le puso al mundo de la bella. Un secreto que está escondido por sus paredes de hierro y por su tecnología. Entonces, el mundo estaba sed de orina. Su mansión gloenta como una fortaleza. Torres eléctricas el oxígeno desde burbujas a conta. Interno el aire extenso, con tanta presión que se pesaba por la desecha. Aquí no, estamos al palpito, después de su matrimonio. Estamos solos. Arthur ha retritado en silencio, en cálculos y máquinas. Only a select group of seniors, the few who'd answered his cryptic invitations, would witness his latest breakthrough, his boldest plan yet to rewrite what it means to grow old. It sounded like a miracle, but the weight in the room told a different story. These folks harbored scars, rivalries bottled up for decades, simmering beneath polished smiles. As guests arrived, a sharp chill slithered down spines. Eyes darted, voices dropped. Old grudges flickered behind exhausted faces. They weren't just here for the tech. Some were here to settle unpaid debts from the past. Arthur stood at the room's center, tall and thin, a ghost of the man he'd been. His hands trembled as he glanced toward the dark corners. Somewhere there, a shadow watched, a figure neither guest nor staff, its gaze pinned tightly on him, burning with a quiet menace. "Tonight," Arthur began, voice low and cracked, "I won't just share an invention. I'll invite you all to change your lives forever." Lights swayed, then died. A hush fell. The silence was so thick it clawed at breaths, squeezing tight. Whispers broke free. Tension snapped, sharp as a wire. People shifted uneasily, senses screaming that something wasn't right. In the dark, a phone buzzed. A soft beep, too faint to calm nerves. The shadow stirred, sliding closer, unseen. Time stretched thin, hearts pounding in the heavy quiet. What had Arthur unleashed? Was it hope? Or something darker? Could forgiveness really bloom here? Or would revenge rip everything apart before the night was over? All eyes strained in the blackness, waiting for a secret that promised to heal or destroy. And the question hung, thick and heavy. Who was watching from the shadows? And what would happen when the lights finally came back on? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The silence pressed down like a weight. Everyone strained in the dark. Hearts hammering like a drum. The air crackled. Anticipation mixed with dread. Arthur's voice shook as he started again. But a startled gasp cut him short. The lights flickered back on, just in time to reveal chaos. A figure collapsed to the ground. An older woman, her face pale and ashen, crumpled like paper. The guests jumped, panic flashing across their faces. "What's happening?" someone shouted, panic laced in their tone. Eyes darted from Arthur to the fallen figure. Something deep inside twisted. Dread pooled in stomachs. Arthur rushed to the woman, kneeling beside her, his hands trembling. "Margaret! Someone call for help!" His voice cracked desperation. The crowd shifted, murmurs racing like gusts of wind. As they surrounded him, Arthur's expression was a mask of fear. He cradled her head in his hands. "Hang on, please. You'll be okay." Margaret's breathing was ragged, each gasp a struggle. "Arthur," she wheezed, but her eyes weren't focused on him. They looked past, full of something that chilled the room. The truth. Arthur's face blanched. That word. The truth that hung in the air, thick and suffocating. He glanced at the guests, faces all shadows and whispers. Someone in the crowd hissed, "What does she mean?" More voices joined, a chorus of speculation drowning out everything else. "Shut up!" shouted another elder, his brow furrowed. But the crowd surged forward, hungry for answers. The atmosphere twisted, growing heavier. Old fights, long-buried rivalries, erupted in soft gasps and cold sneers. "Arthur, you must tell them!" Margaret managed, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes rolling back slightly. "What are you hiding?" One man pressed, moving closer, anger bubbling in his tone. The tension twisted like a knife. Suddenly, Margaret sat up, eyes wide. "The secret! It's all a lie!" The words shot through the air like bullets. Shock froze everyone in place. Arthur's face fell, and his secret, whatever it was, trembled on the edge of exposure. Before anyone could speak, she continued, "You think you'll live forever? You'll trade your souls for youth? Arthur, it's been a trap!" Gasps filled the room, faces blanched, eyes terrified. Arthur sat frozen, mouth agape, shock clawing at his insides. "What do you mean?" he finally erupted, voice laced with panic. "I know what you've done. The machines, the testing. You're playing God." Gasps echoed through the room again, a wave of horror sweeping over the crowd. They reacted like wildfire, anger igniting sparks. Shouts erupted, battles of words clashing as old wounds were ripped open. Arthur, heart racing, realized how the room had shifted. The guests weren't just scared. They were enraged. Betrayal was in the air, an old debt finally coming due. But then the shadows moved again. That lurking figure from before slipped through the edge of the crowd. No one noticed. Positioned in the corner, they were just an observer. Until now. Suddenly, a voice rang out, smooth and chilling. "You have no idea what he's unleashed." The room hushed again, all eyes now drifting to the shadow. Who were they? What did they know? Who was watching from the murky distance? Could Arthur have unwrapped something far more twisted than anyone imagined? The air crackled, relationships shattered, secrets curled in the shadows, waiting to ignite. And as the lights flickered again, doubt filled the space. What other truths remained hidden? Who stood ready to reveal them? The night had only just begun. Silence pressed down like a heavy fog. The air felt electric, scrambled thoughts jolting through every guest's mind. Arthur's heart raced. It felt like a ticking bomb. "I'm not afraid," he thought, trying to steady himself. But the truth whispered otherwise. Then the lights flickered back on, brilliant and harsh. Gasps caught in throats as all eyes shifted to the shadow creeping against the wall. Suddenly, it lunged forward, a blur breaking free from the darkness. The room erupted into chaos. "Watch out!" Someone screamed. A figure in black, masked and menacing, thrust a device into the air, glowing and buzzing ominously. Panic surged like a tidal wave. Arthur's breath hitched. Confused faces turned to him, accusing and terrified. Did they think he had orchestrated this? "Stay back!" Arthur shouted. But then, his world tilted. A deep, thundering voice echoed, low and familiar. "You thought you could hide this, Arthur?" Gasps turned to murmurs. That voice, the same one he loved and lost. It burned in his ears. "Maggie?" He stepped forward, confusion and fear twisting together in his chest. Was this a cruel trick of the heart? But there she was, his wife's twin sister Janet, her face concealed by shadow. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, disbelief clawing through him. A laugh, sharp and bitter, sliced through the air. "You thought burying your secrets would protect you. Did you forget about me? About us?" Broken whispers escaped from the crowd, each person edging closer, hungry for more. Beneath the tension, voices rose in rumbling discontent. Old wounds festered, unleashing old friendships turned to rivals. "Control yourself, Janet!" One guest barked, the gruff, stooped figure of Charles, a former business partner. He looked ready to explode. "This isn't the time for old grudges." "Oh, it's precisely the time!" Janet's voice sliced through, cold and sharp. "Arthur has played God while the rest of us crumbled. He promised us innovation, but stole souls instead." Shock rippled through the room. Arthur stumbled back, memories flashing like a film reel. The promises he made, the dreams he sold, that gnawing guilt, the faces of aging peers who trusted him, came rushing back. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, heart racing faster now. "I'm trying to help. But what does it cost?" "Janet, retorte!" Stepping closer. "They say only 1% make it to retirement without your lies. You let them down." Beneath the chaos, the heaviness pressed against Arthur's chest. Had he really built something beautiful, or a trap that ensnared those he cared about? "I wanted to create something better," he yelled, desperation rising. "A chance for joy, forgiveness. But you took everything from us," Janet shrieked, ripping off the mask. For the first time, her eyes shone with a kind of madness, wild and painful. Gasps echoed in the room. All eyes darted from Arthur to her. Betrayal, fear, confusion hung thick. Arthur stood frozen, fighting disbelief. He always saw himself as the savior. But what if he was the villain? In that moment, everything changed. The guests were no longer passive. They were a crowd amassed for judgment, guilty and desperate for resolution. And suddenly, whispers erupted. An accusatory wave swelled, drowning out reason. Who had betrayed whom? Reality flickered cruelly. Was it Arthur, or the truths he'd buried deep within? That shadow had morphed into a judgment. One question hung in the heavy air. What was he willing to lose to uncover the truth? The tension pulsed in the room like a living thing, an electric shiver that darted between guests, taut and ready to snap. Arthur's heart raced, each beat echoing louder than the last. The shadow, Janet, glaring down at him, seemed to grow darker, more menacing. "You think the truth can't touch you, Arthur?" she taunted. Every word dripped with years of bitterness. "What truth?" he shot back, stepping closer, fists clenched at his sides. His breath hitched, a storm building inside him. The gathered crowd shifted uneasily, whispers barely masking the simmering rage. Faces were shades of disbelief, fear, and a hard-edged resolve. Old alliances lay like broken glass, ready to cut anyone who dared step forward. And then, from the back of the room, a booming voice erupted, startling everyone. "Stop this madness. You've gone too far, Janet." Charles, eyes ablaze, pushed through the throng, his voice a blunt tool slicing through the chaos. "Arthur is still one of us." But Janet, her rage boiling over, pointed a finger at Charles. "One of us? He's butchered our hopes and sold our souls for gadgets. Look at us!" The anger in the air ignited into flames, spiraling, consuming. Suddenly, Arthur felt it, a deep tremor beneath his feet. The foundation of the mansion shuddered. Crack! A noise like thunder rumbled overhead. The lights flickered, dimming for the briefest moment. Frightened gasps surged from the crowd. "What's happening?" someone shrieked, and panic set in. Something was terribly wrong, and everyone could sense it. Then it came, a deafening crash as the ceiling above gave way. Plaster and wood exploded in a flurry. People stumbled backward, limbs flailing, screams echoing through the chaos. A massive figure crashed down, landing with a thud at Arthur's feet. Dust billowed around him, obscuring everything. The crowd reeled back, eyes wide in horror. The figure slowly emerged, covered in debris but unmistakable. Evelyn, a former ally of Arthur's, her face smeared with dust and shock. "What?" she gasped, struggling for breath. "What is this place?" Evelyn's presence shifted the mood instantly. Those who once guarded their accusations turned their fear toward the rubble. "Evelyn!" Arthur breathed, confusion flooding his senses. "Why are you here? What just happened?" "It's worse than you know," she stammered, shaking off fragments of the ceiling, her eyes darting around. "They're coming for you, Arthur. I saw them. They know everything." Fear blanketed the room. Relationships dissolved in the blink of an eye. Janet's panic intertwined with anger. Who's coming?" "They're already inside." Evelyn's voice cracked. Arthur's vision blurred, adrenaline coursing through him. "What do you mean?" But deep down, he felt the dread. The secrets he thought lived safely behind his inventions? What if they were already shattering into the world outside? And in that moment, another crash rattled the walls, closer this time. A heavy metallic thud reverberated through the air. The lights flickered again, then silence. "Run!" someone shouted, urgency tearing through the crowd. Arthur stood there, rooted in place. All his years of isolation, his inventions driven by pain? Was this truly the end he'd envisioned? Oh, felt like a distant fire now, flickering behind dark shadows. As the guests began to flee in chaos, his gaze fell to Janet, still seething, twisting anger into fear. "What else are you hiding?" she demanded, eyes fierce and searching. But before he could answer, a final shattering sound echoed. The mechanical door to his lab burst open, revealing shadows too numerous to count. Fear rippled through every corner of the room. Who had entered? What truths would come to light in this turmoil? As the shadows advanced, the question hung thick in the air. What would happen when the walls of deception finally came crashing down? In the thick blackness, a murmur rippled through the crowd. Eyes adjusted. Shadows gathered like storm clouds, and a sense of dread swelled. Arthur's heart raced, his mind spinning. He opened his mouth to speak, something, anything, to calm the palpable fear. But no words came. Then, a flash. A sudden light pierced the dark, brighter than the sun. Gasps filled the room as a figure stepped into the glow. It was a woman, unrecognizable at first, with wild hair cascading down her shoulders and a fierce glint in her eyes. Everything about her radiated intensity, and as she advanced, the air thickened with unease. "Arthur Wells," she shouted, her voice sharp as a knife. It sliced through the tension like a breath of fresh air, leaving the audience gasping and bewildered. "What? Who are you?" Arthur stammered, blinking hard against the brilliance. "I am Grace," she declared, each syllable a battle cry. The crowd held its breath, eyes darting between her and Arthur, a mixture of intrigue and confusion washing over them. "Grace, you can't be here." "You were supposed to be," he faltered, the implications of her presence piling on like bricks. "Dead?" "Yes, that's what everyone believed," she sneered, stepping closer. "But I've been watching and waiting while you hid from the world." Fingertips tingled with an electric jolt, and Arthur felt the floor beneath him tremble. Whispers exploded. "What does she mean? Is she really alive? How could this be? Grace, please!" Arthur rasped, fighting to regain control. "This meeting, it's not..." "Not what?" she interrupted, her voice rising now. "Not for your past sins. You thought you could erase your history, keep me in the shadows?" The weight of her words filled the room like smoke. Secrets dripped from the walls, heavier than the fine decor. Old acquaintances recoiled. The air shifted from fear to something darker, something menacing. All those years of silence, of shunning, now wormed their way back into the room. Grace's eyes locked onto Arthur with an intensity that drove into his core. "You owe everyone here an explanation, don't you?" she pressed. "They deserve to know what you did to me." A collective gasp filtered through the audience. The murmurs escalated. Confusion morphed into judgment. Suspicion seethed as glances flew from Grace to Arthur. They knew something was wrong, but they craved clarity. I thought you were gone," Arthur pleaded, desperation pitching his voice higher. It isn't the time." "I think it's past time, don't you?" she shot back, the sharpness of her words holding the room hostage. "Time for you to own up to the truth. Everyone here has their own weight to carry, and you're the one who put those burdens upon them." With each passing second, the air became thicker, heavier. The energy shifted. People leaned in, willing the machines to reveal more. Eyes widened. Hearts raced. Suddenly, a crash echoed from the back of the room. A figure emerged from the shadows, lunging toward Grace. Panic erupted, the crowd reeling in fear. Arthur caught a glimpse of the figure, a hooded silhouette brandishing something glinting in the dim glow. "No!" he screamed, lunging forward. The lights flickered. Darkness descended once again, but not before screams erupted like thunder, echoing through the chaos. As the room spiraled into pandemonium, one thought sliced through artistry. What secret had Arthur really unleashed? And who else carried the ghosts they dared not face? With hearts racing and shadows lurking, the truth had just begun to fray, leaving a thread taut and trembling in the darkness. The darkness held the room in a trembling grip. Every heartbeat echoed, a reminder of what was at stake. Arthur's words hung heavy, a promise lingering in the air. But it was the silence, thick and oppressive, that crept under everyone's skin. Then a sharp shatter pierced through the quiet. A sound so sudden and loud it jolted everyone upright. It came from the corner of the room. The flickering emergency lights struggled to break through the gloom, casting long, distorted shadows against the polished walls. Gasps erupted. An old woman named Gloria clutched her chest, pale as bone, while others moved back, their instincts kicking in. "What was that?" someone whispered, voice quaking. A figure burst forth from the shadow, a woman, wild-eyed, her face streaked with what looked like dirt or tears. She stumbled into the dim light, breathless, the air shifting with her urgency. Everyone froze. It was Maya, Arthur's former business partner, presumed dead for over a decade. "Arthur!" she shouted, voice choked with emotion. "You can't do this! You can't keep them in the dark!" Whispers erupted, confusion bubbling to the surface. Old grudges seemed trivial now. Faces turned, eyes wide as Maya staggered closer. The tension in the room twisted, turning into chaos. "You think you're going to change things for people? You did this! You turned your back on us!" Arthur's face paled, an unusual crack forming in his calm facade. Recognition flicked in his eyes, followed by something darker. "Maya! No! This isn't how it was meant to be!" "Oh, I trusted you," she spat, each word cutting the air with a furious edge. "All those lives ruined for your profit. You think you can erase your mistakes with new tech? You have no idea what you've unleashed." Arthur's hands shook visibly. "I wanted to help. I thought you were gone." "You never cared," she retorted, voice rising. "These people didn't even know the truth. How could you keep them bound in silence? A silence you built." Gasps filled the room. The other guests looked from one to another, confusion and disbelief mingling on their faces. Maya's fury seemed to pull the old wounds apart, exposing raw and aching truths. Then the lights flickered again, buzzing. The emergency lights stuttered back on, revealing the horror on everyone's faces. Arthur's once illuminated dream dimmed, leaving only shadows. The undercurrents shifted. Nostalgia turned bitter. Old alliances splintering in front of their eyes. A man in the back shouted out, "What secrets are you hiding, Arthur?" "You can't just—" he stammered, words escaping him like smoke. Maya took a step closer, her voice lowering. "What do you want from them, Arthur? Another chance to play God?" The room split like a fragile glass sculpture under pressure. Friends became strangers, decades of history turning to ash with each truth spilled. Tension mounted, hot and electric. Suddenly, Arthur broke. "It wasn't just for me. It was for the future. We could have done something amazing." "Lies!" Maya shot back. "You lie to yourself while they suffer." The gravity of the moment weighed down like an anvil. Shaken whispers filled the space, doubts igniting. Was Arthur the hero, or had he spun a web of manipulation for his own ends? As the crowd swelled with noise, the dark figure in the corner stepped closer once more. A chilling reminder of the past. Fear cloaked the room again, but this time eyes were fixed on Arthur, waiting for the truth to fall like a hammer. Would he confess, or would this be the night that left them all shattered? In the confusion, dread settled deep. What was really lurking in their shared history? And would any of them leave this place whole? The lights flickered once more, the air thick with questions yet unanswered. The darkness held its breath, heavy and tight. Hearts raced. Breaths came in quick spurts. Then a voice sliced through the silence. It was low, almost a whisper. "You think you know him?" The crowd shifted, eyes searching. From the corner of the room, the shadow loomed larger, stepping forward as the emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows. Its face emerged, a woman, frail yet fierce, with silver hair framing her lined face. "You don't know the truth about Arthur!" Gasps echoed, the tension spiking. Arthur's face went pale, his eyes darted. "Margaret!" he exclaimed, disbelief drowning his voice. "How did you get in here?" "Like you're welcoming anyone tonight," she shot back, venom lacing her words. "I know what you did." The crowd leaned in, eager to catch every word. Secrets simmered like boiling water about to erupt. "You hid everything!" "Ha ha 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 ha! All those years, you hid it from us. From me!" Arthur's jaw tightened. "We had an agreement. This is not your place to—" "Not my place?" Margaret spat. "You think you can just erase the past? After you left me to deal with it alone? To bury our child?" Her voice broke, raw and jagged, cutting through the air like a knife. Stunned silence enveloped them all. The room felt smaller, closing in. Arthur stumbled back, clutching the edge of a polished table for support. The weight of his own failure pressed down on him, suffocating. "But buried?" A man in the front murmured, his brows furrowed in disappointment. "What are you talking about? You had a child?" The whispers raced like wildfire. Accusations, pains from years past, erupting like a shaken soda can. "Yes!" Margaret shouted, her voice rising. "A daughter you never wanted anyone to know about. A daughter whose death tore my heart apart while you built your empire." Arthur's eyes darkened, anger mixing with shame. "No, I did what had to be done." "Done?" Margaret's voice trembled, echoing off the lavish walls. "You mean you turned your back when you were needed the most? We created something beautiful, and you smashed it because of your fear, because you couldn't face the truth." Gasps filled the air now, eyes darting back to Arthur, questioning. Who was the real monster in this story? What was the secret behind the doors of his mansion, behind the genius veneer? Arthur stammered, broken words caught in his throat. "You're lying. I didn't leave for that." The room buzzed with confusion, doubt. Who had the truth? Who had twisted it? As the crowd leaned in closer, tension thickening, whispers turned to shouts. Everyone's pasts were now open, exposed, aching to be healed, yet grasping for more blood. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, this time plunging the room into deeper darkness. A shattering sound rang out, glass breaking, a scream tearing through the chaos. Then, silence. In that dark void, something shifted once more. Unseen shadows moved, intentions unclear. The crowd held its breath, caught between horror and curiosity. What had just unfolded? Who was telling the truth? Were they all part of something bigger and more sinister? As the lights buzzed back to life, revealing faces frozen in shock, the mystery lingered, deepening with every heartbeat. Arthur stood at the center, a man trapped in a web of his own making. The tangled threads of deception wrapped tighter with every watched gaze, and the questions loomed like dark clouds, relentless, a storm threatening to break. What would he unveil next? And who would be left standing at the end? The darkness held its breath, heavy and tight. Hearts raced. Breaths came in quick spurts. Then a voice sliced through the silence. It was low, almost a whisper. "You think you know him?" The crowd shifted, eyes searching. From the corner of the room, the shadow loomed larger, stepping forward as the emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows. Its face emerged. A woman, frail yet fierce, with silver hair framing her lined face. "Dun, you don't know the truth about Arthur," gasps echoed, the tension spiking. Arthur's face went pale, his eyes darted. "Margaret," he exclaimed, disbelief drowning his voice. "How did you get in here?" "Like you're welcoming anyone tonight," she shot back, venom lacing her words. "I know what you did." The crowd leaned in, eager to catch every word. Secrets simmered like boiling water about to erupt. "You hid everything. All those years, you hid it from us." "From me?" Arthur's jaw tightened. "We had an agreement. This is not your place, too." "Not my place," Margaret spat. "You think you can just erase the past? After you left me to deal with it alone? To bury our child?" Her voice broke, raw and jagged, cutting through the air like a knife. Stunned silence enveloped them all. The room felt smaller, closing in. Arthur stumbled back, clutching the edge of a polished table for support. The weight of his own failure pressed down on him, suffocating. "Buried?" a man in the front murmured, his brows furrowed in disappointment. "What are you talking about? You had a child?" The whispers raced like wildfire. Accusations, pains from years past, erupting like a shaken soda can. "Yes," Margaret shouted, her voice rising. "A daughter you never wanted anyone to know about. A daughter whose death tore my heart apart while you built your empire." Arthur's eyes darkened, anger mixing with shame. "No." "I did what had to be done." "Done?" Margaret's voice trembled, echoing off the lavish walls. "You mean you turned your back when you were needed the most? We created something beautiful, and you smashed it because of your fear. Because you couldn't face the truth." Gasps filled the air now, eyes darting back to Arthur, questioning. Who was the real monster in this story? What was the secret behind the doors of his mansion, behind the genius veneer? Arthur stammered, broken words caught in his throat. "You're lying. I didn't leave for that." The room buzzed with confusion, doubt. As the crowd leaned in closer, the dark figure in the corner stepped closer once more, a chilling reminder of the past. Fear cloaked the room again, but this time, eyes were fixed on Arthur, waiting for the truth to fall like a hammer. Would he confess? Or would this be the night that left them all shattered? In the confusion, dread settled deep. What was really lurking in their shared history? And would any of them leave this place whole? The lights flickered once more, the air thick with questions yet unanswered. Then the shattering sound struck again. But this time, it wasn't just noise. A figure burst through the broken chandelier, the glass cascading down like startled rain. Everyone screamed, utter panic erupted. "Get down!" someone shouted. The dust and debris filled the air, soaking everything in chaos. But through the haze, Arthur caught a glimpse of a different face, one he'd never imagined to see again. There stood a young woman, no older than 20, eyes wide and terrified. "Dad!" she cried, voice rising above the cacophony. Time froze. Arthur's heart skipped, confusion swirling. "What? Who are you?" "Your daughter! I'm here to save you!" Her voice was urgent, desperate. The crowd turned, confusion morphing into something darker. "No way!" Margaret whispered, disbelief turning her voice cold. "This can't be." "Silence!" Arthur roared, the anger rising with his desperate need for clarity. "What game is this? What have you done?" "Don't blame me," she pleaded, fear painted all over her face. "They're coming for us. You left me." A glance shot around the room, panic rising like a tide, drowning reason. "Maya? Is this about Maya?" Arthur stumbled back, shock cracking his steely resolve. You were gone." "No," she shouted, bewildered eyes pleading for understanding. "I saw you. I saw everything. I can't let them take you." The crowd erupted again, voices clashing in confusion and dread. Accusations hung thick, and suddenly, it wasn't just old secrets being unveiled, it was new truths. Truths that darkened the very corners of the room. "Who are you really?" Margaret demanded. "What do you mean, coming for us?" The new girl looked at Arthur, hurt flooding her features. The tension snapped tighter. "They know the truth. The company, everything, what you did. They're coming to finish what you started." What had Arthur unleashed? The very air crackled, filled with darkness and dread. And there it lay, one question transforming the whole night. Was it too late to save them all? Or was this just the beginning of a nightmare he thought was behind him? The darkness hovered, electrified and suffocating. Every heartbeat echoed, mixing with hushed gasps. People swayed, caught in a tangled web of revelations. Arthur's throat felt tight, fear twisting into knots. "What game is this?" he demanded, not ready to face the truth of the girl claiming to be his daughter. "But it's true," she pleaded, panic flaring in her eyes. "You have to believe me." "Enough!" Margaret cut in, her face pale with disbelief. Anger ignited within her. "You think you can come here, disrupt everything, and just expect us to believe you?" The crowd shifted, energy crackling like lightning. "Who do you think you are?" someone shouted. "I'm your daughter!" the girl screamed, her voice breaking. "You thought I was gone. But I was taken. I knew you'd come here tonight, and I had to stop you." "Taken?" Arthur repeated, confusion swirling in his mind. "By who?" Tension snapped as if cut by an invisible blade. The lights flickered once more, casting ghostly shadows around the room. All eyes glued to the girl, straining to catch her next words. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from behind the crowd. The sound slithered through the air, and eyes widened in fear. "What was that?" someone whispered. Before anyone could react, the double doors burst open. A figure charged into the room, cloaked in darkness, eyes gleaming with malice. The crowd gasped, instinctively recoiling. It was a tall shadow, tall and menacing, clutching a device that hummed ominously. "Arthur!" the figure shouted. "You can't hide anymore!" The voice was cold, razor sharp, cutting through the chaos. It was someone familiar, someone Arthur thought he'd left behind. "You've unleashed everything we feared." The girl's eyes widened. "You? No, no!" she gasped, shaking her head furiously, frantic. "You don't understand!" The figure stepped closer, revealing a face Arthur never thought he'd see again. It was his former best friend, Henry. "You've played us all for fools, Arthur," Henry growled, advancing with an air of fury. "You put everyone at risk." "What are you doing here?" Arthur shouted, incredulity flooding his voice. "The truth?" Henry took a step forward, eyes blazing with tempered rage. "Your truth is a lie that harms every single one of us. Those machines—" "Stop!" Arthur interrupted, desperation lining his voice. "You don't know what you're talking about." But the room was buzzing now, alive with accusations and shattered trust. Each second felt thick with betrayal. Henry smirked, a bitter smile slicing across his lips. "You think it was just us? All those years? You were the one who signed the deal. The one who bartered away lives for your precious technology." "What?" The crowd erupted in shock, memories swarming like angry bees. "Yes," Henry continued, voice dripping with contempt. "The truth isn't just about you and your failures. It's about everything. The contracts, the lies, and how you think a mere machine can unlock human potential." Screams filled the air, voices overlapping in a cacophony of panic. Arthur staggered backward, heart pounding against his ribs. The girl, his daughter, urgently reached for him. "Don't listen to him. This is a setup. If you let them win, they'll destroy you." "Who?" Arthur croaked, dizzy from the torrent of new revelations. "Who are you protecting me from?" "From the truth," Henry spat, cold satisfaction etching his features. "From the very people you created. They're here, waiting for the right moment to take their claim." In that instant, the lights surged again, illuminating the faces in vivid detail. No longer were they just ages of yesteryears. They were grim embodiments of anger. Men and women fed up with the lies. Arthur's mind spun, struggling to grasp everything unraveling before him. Suddenly, the room fell silent. A shudder crawled through the walls, a sense of impending doom dawning on everyone. And as the lights flickered once more, the realization hit like a thunderclap. What truth had Arthur hidden so deeply? As the shadows loomed larger, suffocating the air, fear gripped him tight. an echo of his own choices reverberated through the silence. And the weight of betrayal fused with the essence of his unworthy past. The crowd, the chaos, the girl, everything became so unclear. And within that moment, a terrible realization dawned. The devices he had created weren't just machines. They were gateways to something much more sinister. A trap that wouldn't just hurt him, but everyone he ever cared for. "What if I was wrong?" he murmured, staring into the shadows that danced derisively before him. With that thought, darkness descended anew, leaving only questions dangling like broken strings. Arthur could feel the weight of every gaze, the surge of emotions pulsing around him like a heartbeat. Panic rose, clutching at his throat. He turned to Henry, disbelief and anger sparking in his eyes. "What have you done?" he demanded, voice cracking with desperation. "The machines!" Henry shouted back, fury radiating from him. "You think they're just tools? You don't know what you've unleashed upon us." Maya reached for Arthur, her eyes wide with fear. "Dad, we have to move! They're coming for all of us!" Arthur's heart pounded, each beat a reminder of the choices he made. Memories of the past flashed before him. Triumphs mingled with failures. Dreams twisted into nightmares. In that chaos, an urgency lit within him. He had to confront the truth before it engulfed them all. "Listen to me!" he cried, his voice rising above the din. "I never meant to hurt anyone. I was trying to create something that could help us." He paused, the weight of his own words dragging him down. "But I see now! I see it all!" The silence that followed crackled. Margaret's cold gaze pierced through him, shadowed by pain. "You sacrificed us for your vision, Arthur! Don't you dare pretend this is about help!" "But I can fix this," he pleaded, desperation spilling out. "We can dismantle the tech." "Dismantle? After all that?" Henry scoffed, a laugh that was devoid of humor. "You think it's that easy?" Then out of the shadows, the girl's voice rang clear, cutting through the chaos. "We have to unite. They won't stop until they take everything." She turned, urgency in her voice. "They tried to erase my life, and they'll come for yours too." Arthur felt something shift in the atmosphere. The guests, once divided, began to murmur among themselves, fear sparking solidarity. Old grudges waned like dimming lights. For the first time, they saw something else, an opportunity to break free from the chains that bound them. A sudden crash echoed. A door swung open violently, letting in a rush of cold air and a cadre of figures, silhouettes cloaked in mystery. Panic erupted. Voices collided like thunder, bodies shifting as everyone stepped back, desperate to escape the unknown. But Arthur stood firm, heart racing. "Everyone, listen!" he shouted, desperately trying to keep their focus. "Whatever happens next, we face it together." The crowd stilled. His eyes roamed, locking onto familiar faces that flickered with realization. Moments of fear transformed into a shared resolve. They were more than just individuals. They had the power to fight back. "Together," Maya echoed, her voice rippling with confidence. With that mantra ignited, courage spread, coursing through every person in the room like electricity. The true enemy wasn't Arthur. It was the darkness they let fester. With one final push, Arthur thrust his hands forward. Let's end this now. Bring the truth into the light. The looming figure stepped closer, and just then, the lights blazed to full brightness. The tension snapped like a bowstring, shattering the veil of fear. As the darkness receded, something remarkable happened. Faces transformed from fear to determination, from despair to agency. And then it hit him. The machine he had built, they didn't just take, they held potential. Perhaps they could re-engineer, reuse the very tools that once brought harm. In that moment, hope flickered like a candle's flame. Arthur swallowed hard, understanding the gravity of their collective fight. Would they succeed, or would the shadows claim them first? As the crowd advanced, propelled by newfound strength, the final question of fate loomed. Would they break free from their past chains? You have to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even a second longer to share. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. This story isn't over. It's just the beginning. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling adventure reach its ultimate conclusion.